Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on A World Awakening. I've missed you. I've been away doing some traveling. And then last week, our production staff, they were away doing their own thing. So it's been a couple of weeks, and I've missed you all. And I hope that we've kept you informed and entertained in the interim with some really good reruns and some live shows as well with Jeff, Erin, while Lenny and Jeff and I were running around Ohio. It's about 1 billion degrees down here tonight. Suddenly it went from being relatively cool to unbearably hot. So I'm pasty looking. I'm moist. I'm moist tonight, so please forgive me. I have one of the most charming, affable, incredibly intelligent, lovely, gracious people, women, on our show tonight. Her name is Patti Starr. If you're unfamiliar with her, yeah, she will fill you in on her like remarkable history and what she's accomplished during the course of her life. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the marvelous, amazing Patti Starr. How are you, darling?
Oh, I'm doing so well, and I'm so glad you read my introduction word for word. I'm just kidding, you know that. But that was very gracious of you. Thank you so much. I sure do appreciate it.
Well, there are, a lot of people in the paranormal world know exactly who you are and what you do, but we're in syndication on KGRA, which goes worldwide. And so there are many viewers around the planet right now that don't know anything about you. So you'll do a better job than I will. So why don't you introduce yourself in terms of who you are, what you bring to the planet Earth, and what your great mission statement is while
Oh,
you're here.
goodness. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. That's a tall order. Um, well, first of all, I've been what I consider myself as a ghost hunter. And I've been ghost hunting for over 40 years.
Hmm.
And I truly, I have just learned so much. It's so funny. I tell people that I've learned more about life from the dead than I have the living.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think it's because of my appreciation and love for the work that I'm going to say did, because I'm not doing very much right now as far as the paranormal, but I do like reminiscing and sharing the things that I did learn and answer questions from anyone that would be interested in just hearing what that might be. As I grew older and developed my sense of connection that I'd like to say to the spirit world, I realized as I got older that this is something that I wanted to share, not necessarily convert or convince, but just share, just in case anyone was interested. And of course, back in the '60s and '70s, you couldn't share too much of that.
Right.
It
Can get
it
you in
was
a lot of
very
trouble. Even
oh
expelled from school. I
yeah,
came that close.
very taboo. But as I got older, and I always blame it on the X Files. You know, when the X Files came out,
Mhm.
everybody wanted to watch it. Then it became okay to talk a little bit about the strange things.
Yeah.
Because you start out with, did you see X Files? Did you see that about the sister that disappeared? Yeah, well, I knew somebody that had an experience, and all of a sudden it just became uh, it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was something that you could discuss, and so I was very appreciative of the X Files, and then from there, as I grew older and realizing that by accident I started recording EVPs,
Hmm.
and then I thought, my goodness, wouldn't this be awesome if I could find other instruments other than my camera and my recorder. And then I met someone, an electronics engineer, that taught me a little bit about the EMF meter and things of that nature. And I
Yes.
thought, ooh,
Yep.
maybe I could use that for ghost hunting. I was trying everything. I remember the first time I got one of those thermometers that was the indoor outdoor thermometer, and I put it on this like fishing pole, and I had it going around to see if I could catch temperature drops. That's way before before it was available for us to buy the infrared thermometers and things. And then I did use like compasses, because sometimes, your little needle would go crazy.
Mhm.
This is before I actually got, the EMF meters. But then I became very lucky back in, let me see, the year 2000. My husband and I went to a community college program. We wanted to learn how to do ballroom dancing. And then as I went, oh dear, I forgot about my dog.
That's
As
okay. I have one too. She's quiet right now, but there's no guarantee, so don't apologize.
Okay, okay.
They make
So
life worth living, so if they're loud, they're
I
loud.
know. I love it. So while we were dancing, I had on a T-shirt. I used to wear all kinds of T-shirts that would just say, great things. Like it would have a ghost hunting title. And so this lady walked up to me and she said, "What is this about you having a website for ghost hunting?" And I explained it to her, and she said, "Well, we have a course here at the university. We would love for you to teach here." So in 2001, I started teaching uh, a course at our local community college in ghost hunting. And then I had so many students that they said, "Can you do an advanced one or some type of certification?" And so I did. I started doing advanced ghost hunting and certifications. I did that for 8 years there at the college, and then decided to branch off. And I had a ghost hunter shop at the time. I opened that up in 2000. And I had this huge room there in my shop. So I started teaching the classes in the shop. And then later on, I decided to go with a mystical fair. And every month we would have that. So I kind of extended my love for ghost hunting and everything into being more openly to readings and that type of thing. And then from there it got a little bit bigger and a little bit crazier when I started the Scarefest, which I enjoyed so much doing. It was just so much fun. And that all went on until about 2016, when my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he
Sorry.
became so ill. And so actually he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011, but by 16 it was very prominent, and we just had to let everything go. And so from 2016, the only thing that I kept going was my Bardstown and my Lexington ghost walks. I kept those going. I did the ghost walk for almost 25 years in Bardstown. And then I think the one in Lexington was like about 6 or 7 years. But in the meantime, I have sold those as well. So right now, I'm just a little old lady sitting in my little country cottage with my dogs and cats.
And I I hope to be able to say the same thing. I
Oh,
do. Just my little country cottage with my critters, and no, I wanted to ask you, you and I have a very close friend, Greta,
yes,
who
she's
are
awesome.
she
Very awesome lady.
she truly is, and I meant to ask her about this, but I guess it was just meant to be that I ask you directly.
Uh
If
huh.
I wanted to ask her if she knew if you had had any experiences, paranormal, supernatural connection as a child, which I
Yes,
ask a lot of people who are
yes,
into this field, because almost inevitably the answer is yes, that it
yes,
goes all the way back to sometimes early childhood, that we
yes.
remember having some kind of a close encounter. We know that we have been somehow touched by spirit.
Right.
We can see things that other people cannot or
Yes.
won't, or block themselves from seeing because they don't want to
Yeah,
be open to it.
that's
And I
right.
wanted to know, what your history and what your background was that drew you to this, as you grew into adulthood and formed your own concepts, your opinions, philosophy, techniques, methodology. Where was the foundational root of that?
Well, I grew up in a very strict Baptist family, and when I would speak of things like at one time I explained to my mom, I aggravated her a little bit. She woke up one night and I was talking, and she was like, "Stop talking. We're trying to sleep here," And I I had the really strong mother with, she had very strong discipline habits as well. So we got what we called whoopings back then. And
Yeah, it's called child abuse now. Yeah.
oh, right. And so I would I would talk to her sometimes about what I had seen or heard that bothered her. Being a very strict Baptist, we just that was just not accepted. And so I would tell her about it, and she was like, "Now, honey, listen, this is part of your daydreaming." And I'm like, "No, Mom, and I know it's real." And she was like, "Well, you just have a really good imagination. You're very creative. You just have a good imagination." And I was like, "No, Mom, I know. And when those children come to me, I know." And then she said, "Well, for God's sake, don't tell the preacher." So there for a while, I thought, wow, maybe what I'm doing is, really wrong. But then,
Patty, we're losing your audio, sweetheart. Can you hop out and then come back in on the link, and it might fix itself?
okay.
I want to hear every word that you say, and we're losing, like, it's very choppy and interfered with. So why don't you hop out and come back in? It doesn't matter that it's live.
Okay.
Everybody understands technology. That's no
Okay.
problem.
I'm leaving.
Okay. Okay, she'll be right back. We have to do this from time to time. And she's up in Kentucky, and I don't know how her broadband is up there. I know how it sucks down here. I can tell you that in Georgia. Oh my God. But she should, Bill, when she comes back in, just pull her in. But you know what? I knew it. I meant to talk to Greta about this today. It's like, I know her history goes back to childhood. So yes, talk to me and let's see if it's better.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, it's still a little crackly, but Bill, is there anything you can adjust on your end so that Patty's audio is clearer?
No, it's on her end.
It is.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I am on an iPad. Would it be better if I go to my iPhone? I have a 14.
Try that. Try that.
Yeah, try that.
Okay. Give me just a second. Should I go out and then come back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed, Bill, it started getting like progressively worse as we were talking. So it's probably a signal issue. Oh, technology is going to be the death of us all.
It's live programming. I mean,
know.
it's what it is.
I know.
She seems like such a sweetheart.
I know. Isn't she precious? She's precious. You just want to grab her and hug her and squeeze her. And she's got kitties all around her and a barking dog. I mean, so up my alley. Peanut Buttercup is resting comfortably, by the way, this evening. I would bring her in as my co-host, except that she's sound asleep at the wheel.
Let's see how you sound now.
How is that?
Yes.
Infinitely better.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. I'm gonna
Infinitely
move my iPad over here, and then I'm gonna try to see if I can get this okay. All right. How's that?
Absolutely perfect.
Okay. Now let me get my sound up so I can hear you. When I listen to TikToks, I turn my sound way down. Okay. How's that?
Wonderful.
All right. Now, where were
Mom
we?
did not believe you. And finally, Mom believed you enough to tell you not to tell the preacher.
Right. And so I will be honest with you. It seemed like as I got older, sometimes because I began to have a little bit of a fear of it, because it was so shunned, especially with our religion. But then after I got married and started having my children, it seemed like, whoa, so many things woke up, my sensitivity, and I still have that today, even my sense of smell and taste and touch. And I began to even identify with inanimate objects. Like I would see objects as male or female, and I would see personalities like in a chair or a tree, or it was. And I just knew that at that point I was tapping in on energies, and I really liked the energies that I could tap in on because they were very positive. I didn't really have a lot of go-ins with anything that I felt like was demonic or evil. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm just saying for me, I guess I was really blessed in that area, and I didn't really have a lot of things that frightened me. And then if I did have something to come in, like shadow people and different things that would startle me, I wouldn't say frightened, but just, startled me. Yeah. Then I would just continue to figure out what was going on until I felt comfortable with it. And I really loved that part about it too, because then I learned through that fear can contaminate so many things.
Yes.
So I wanted to be present in every moment with something very positive instead of letting fear come in and then kind of destroy the whole attention that I was putting toward the phenomena that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, like I said, as I got older and older, not only I don't really like calling it a psychic ability. Isn't that awful? I like calling it like a connection.
Well, I was just going to suggest that you use that word because, unfortunately, in too many circles, a psychic medium, people have their own. They have their own preconceived notions of what that is.
Yes.
So if you slap that label on yourself, then it's almost like you pigeonhole yourself. But if you're an energy worker, a light worker, I mean, we all have to, just so that we can communicate, we have to label ourselves to a certain extent.
Right.
But when you're just tapping into universal source energy and you're feeling that connectivity with the universe, it's really hard to take something that's this big and make it that small.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I love the way you express that. Thank you.
So you are definitely gifted. I mean, you really are. I think I've only had the opportunity to meet you briefly one time in person.
Yes.
And we were in a bajillion people.
I know.
So, there was really no opportunity for us to connect in a way that, we should. And that we've had to wait all these years just for me to be able to snag you, bring you on the show. And Greta said to me, you know what? Patty's your go-to person. You ever have somebody bail on you at the last minute?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she's like right there for you, Annie.
I would be anytime.
I so appreciate it because you bring a lightness of being into the world.
Thank you.
That projects out, that touches everyone that you connect with.
Oh, I love that.
I feel very honored and privileged to be able to share you in this way with everybody that partakes of a world awakening, whether, live or later on in an archive version when they're searching around for something inspirational to watch.
That is so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I am totally so honored to be on your show. I'm like, when she asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So
you'll be back. You will definitely be back. I tried to coerce Greta. I'm like you. I'm not much into arm twisting and coercion at all. I want people to find their own path, find their own way, do what they want when they want. But I would have loved if I could have convinced her to come on the show tonight, even hop in for a few minutes. Yes. I'll get her again. We'll have like a little, a little hen party one of these nights.
Yes.
You know, all the girls get together and cha-cha-cha.
Absolutely.
You know, because
Absolutely.
it's hard. You know, we haven't been able to see each other.
Uh-huh.
You know, we haven't been able to gather for, you know, the last several years. We're just
Right.
really starting up. You know, what we used to think of as our old conventional circuit of paracons and conventions of, you know, like-minded people getting
Right.
together.
Yes.
Um, and I had, I believe I went to Scarefest one time.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember if it was 2013 or 2014. I can't remember which year it was.
Yes. Those
Um,
were two of our big years. It was good.
yeah, it was. And I had the movie had come out already. The Conjuring had come
Uh-huh.
out,
Yes.
and Greta and Chip were right next to me on one side,
Right.
and Johnny Zaffis was on the other.
Oh, you
And
perfect company.
I know, and I was wedged between. Yeah, I had really just started doing what, you know, I was only maybe a few events
Yeah.
into being invited to do paracons and so
Uh-huh.
on, speak at these things,
Right.
and I was wedged between two iconic
Right.
figures in this
Absolutely.
field
Yes. Yes.
who took an inordinate amount of pleasure tormenting me. Zaffis threw anything and everything that he could find over into my table area. You
Oh
know,
my
pieces of
gosh.
tissues and wad them up and hit me in the head. And he's like, "Well, I just wanted to get your attention."
Oh,
And you know, Greta, oh my God, she got me through that weekend. Eh, she got me through that extraordinary weekend. That was the weekend that I met John Tenney for the first time.
oh, okay.
And we've been thick as thieves ever since. I mean, from the moment we met. So, you know, that was a really amazing
Yes.
weekend for me. And I had never been to Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
Um, and there's no question in my mind driving through those mountains why so
Oh,
many people claim to
oh,
see Sasquatch.
oh my
Because, you know, something's got to live out in those woods. And,
gosh.
oh,
Yeah,
it's
we've
so
got all time. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
There is here in Kentucky, there's the International Paranormal Museum.
Mhm.
And oh, it's phenomenal. I went to it, and while I was there visiting, I actually bought a huge poster, and it's got the cryptozoologist type things all in it, the Bigfoot and the little green people and the gray people and the, oh my gosh. But I live way, way, way out in Nancy. I'm actually 31 minutes away from the nearest grocery store, vet, Walmart, doctor. I mean, you know, I'm out there.
Yeah.
And but it's just absolutely beautiful. But just to compliment some of the things that you said, don't you think since all of these people started to come together in the paranormal community, is aren't they wonderful people? I
Yes,
mean, they
and
just come into your life and they just stay. I mean, it's
I
just
know, and
I that was
it's
the
an
one.
extraordinary,
Yes,
eclectic mix of people.
yes,
We
yes, and
couldn't possibly be more different from each
that's,
other
oh, I
than we
love
are,
that, the
and yet we
diversity.
kick our differences to the
Yes,
curb and
yes,
love each other, and we focus on what we have in common. And
that's
I
right.
often start my lectures with this line: I have discovered that the happiest people I've ever met are obsessed with death. You know,
Oh,
and then they all laugh. And then I finish the thought with, but it's not really death. It's establishing proof of something we already know, and that there is some form of afterlife. We
yes,
don't just die and rot.
yes,
There's something about us
yes,
essentially that
yes.
goes on.
We
And
just
so
continue. Yes, yes.
exactly. And so we're kind of all in this together, no matter how different we are.
That's right. That's right. That's what I love about it. And since when I started teaching back in 2000, and I would have all these students come in even today, they come to me and we're all still communicating. Not, when I say all, I should say most. There's no all, but most of us are still checking each other out and making sure that we're okay and what's going on in your life and what's happening here. And I get so tickled. Just recently I did get people that I hadn't heard from in a long time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been so long. But I mean, if I just, it just does so much in my heart and soul to know that I was part of uh bringing people together. I was part of, when I had those shows, I was part of people discovering other things. Not just like the my world of ghost hunting, but other things. Again, the energies, the angels, the things that are around us,
Yeah.
the source. I mean, all of it. And I've just over the years, I think I love some of the stories that people come to me and say, the first time I talked to you, you told me this, or we got to do this, or you advised me to go here or go there. I don't even remember any of it. I'm like, did I say that? And but again, I think when I look back on what I've done in the paranormal world, I just feel like the biggest reward for me, as you said, was the amazing people, their talents, their.
Yeah.
I like hearing about the different observations and beliefs and also their methodology as far as the things that they've tried and to work out or not work out. Sometimes we try things we think we know what we're doing and we don't.
No.
So yes, I
You know,
think
you
that was,
learn most from failure rather
yes,
than success.
yes,
So,
yes,
if you've got a 10-to-1 failure to success rate, you're doing great and you're
yes,
learning a lot.
yes, you
Yeah.
are, yes,
Yeah.
you are. And I think that was another thing with me with the paranormal. Of all the things in the world that I could learn, I learned so much more about my depth and how far I could venture out. How like there's no limit. There's absolutely no
There is no
limit.
limit.
And the thing that makes me feel good is somebody might look at me and say, "Wow, I mean, you just live in a little small place, a little cottage. You just have these little dogs and cats, and but there's no measuring the joy and the happiness that I have, regardless of anything physical, material. But as if you got good health, everything else will fall in place.
Yeah.
And
And
so that's what
I
I.
hate to tell people this, but you can't put a price on peace. You
Yes.
can't pay for peace of mind.
No.
You can't pay for the kind of privacy and
Yes.
quietude and being out in nature
Oof.
is so
Yes.
healing and
It is.
soothing. It is truly a balm for the soul.
It is.
And these
Absolutely.
people that live in these skyscrapers on top of each other and they're surrounded by thousands and thousands of other people, I would feel like a trapped rat.
Oh dear.
Feel like I
Oh dear.
had
Yeah.
no escape. And I'm at my sister's house in Georgia helping her take care of my mother. And she's in hospice palliative care. And we're
Oh.
kind of like part of the whole, we're her primary caregivers, but
Right.
she has nurses and other team members that come
Yes.
in
Yes.
and assist us. But the thing that I find on her best days is when I can put her in her wheelchair and take her out to the back deck. And we
Oh.
just sit out on the deck
Yes.
and watch the squirrels and the
Yes.
birdies and the
Yes.
chipmunks and
Yeah.
the rabbits. And I mean, it's just 2 acres, but
Uh-huh.
it's 2 acres that is brimming with wildlife. I
Yes.
mean, just opulent with wildlife. And, I mean, our squirrels have names, I mean, even the chipmunks, they're so cute. Oh my
Oh,
God.
they are.
And just it pulls your mind away from it alters your perspective and it pulls your mind away from the most troubling aspects of
It
life
does. It
and
does.
brings you into a place that is cool and green and lovely and like this um it's like an altered mindset to be in nature. There's
Right.
nothing that is more enriching to your personal peace of mind and your physical health
Yes.
than being in an environment that is just beautiful.
Yes. Yes. And I'm so blessed because that's the
Me too.
environment that I'm living in right now, and there's nothing more wonderful than, like you say, is just like yesterday, my doggies are barking out the main window, and I look out, and there's a deer with two newborn little fawns. They were so precious. And they were trying to, when they could hear the dogs bark, the mother gets high alert, you
Yeah,
can see
sure.
that. And then she starts to run off, and one follows very closely, but the other one is like going back and forth. And then I'm standing there going, "Don't leave it,"
Yeah.
But then the mama deer does come back around. It must have been their first outing because
Yeah.
it looked quite awkward. But gosh, to witness that
I
is
know.
so awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have a Great Pyrenees? The
I
white dog?
do. How did you know?
Well, because I had a Great Pyrenees named Gracie Pearl,
Oh,
and I
gosh.
recognized the snout.
Oh,
I did. Just that's all I could see was
oh
the
my
snout. But
gosh.
the bark was also because Gracie Pearl had a very big girl voice, and she
Oh,
didn't have an indoor voice.
oh,
Everything was always outdoor, even
uh-huh.
if she was indoors.
Yes.
And so, I remember the first day, I had found her. She was a rescue, and she was just this tiny little baby. I mean, she was like practically newborn,
Oh my
and
goodness.
had been abandoned out in the woods.
Oh
And
gosh.
we brought her home, and I raised her up. And I remember the day that she was probably about 5 or 6 months old. So she was maybe up to about she full grown 130 pounds. So she was
Ooh.
probably around 40 pounds.
Oh
And
my
she was still
goodness.
like a baby. She was
Right.
that in adolescence. And I was out on the back deck with her, and it was early in the morning. I was taking her out to go walk. And she turned and looked into the side yard, and there was an 8-point buck and his mate and their offspring passing through our yard. And
Wow.
she turned and looked at me with eyes as big as platters, like,
Oh.
"Oh my God, Mom, look at that. What is that?" And she just whips her head around. She looks at
Oh
me to see me watch me look at the deer
gosh.
of the
Oh.
family. And
Wow.
I will never forget that moment my whole life, Patty. I will
Yes.
never forget, like when you're raising, I never had children,
Yes.
but the wonder in the eyes of a child seeing
Yes.
something for the first
First time.
time.
Yes.
I
Yes.
saw that in her eyes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, I tell you what, she's got my heart. In
Oh,
December, I had to take her in. She had a growth under her neck. And,
typical of the breed. Yep.
yep. And, they had to do the surgery, and surgery went way longer than they thought. They ended up having to take lymph nodes, saliva glands. It was grueling. And then they told me when I went to pick her up from the surgery, they had her in there for 4 days, and they basically I was taking her home to die.
Yeah.
And I just I kind of, I like to connect, and I like to use any possible energies that I can use, but I don't want to manipulate. I want things that are supposed to happen to happen. I don't
Right.
want to change anything. I just want to be there to support it. So if it's her time to go, I am supporting it. But if it's her time to stay, she's going to stay. And she did. That she just recovered, and she's been doing awesome. And that's December, and she's
Wow.
been doing awesome. So I don't even know if she still has the cancer, because she doesn't act like she has anything wrong with her. So in my mind, she doesn't.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that we'll continue to go, with that flow. But I named her Winky because I'm a Harry Potter fan,
Oh,
and
that's
Winky was
great.
one of the. It wasn't in the movie, but in the book,
Books.
Winky was one of the house elves.
Yes.
And so I thought that would be appropriate because I don't know, when I first looked at her, she was a rescue as well. And when I first looked at her, and then I had a girlfriend that did her DNA. Now she was a kind of a mutt rescue. But when they did the DNA on her, she's 87% Pyrenees. As
Uh-huh.
far as I'm concerned, with her attitude, she is 100%
Yeah.
Pyrenees because she is one stubborn mama, but she's my
Oh,
mama.
they are willful and manipulative.
Yes,
You know why?
yes,
They're so smart. They
yes,
have the intellectual capacity of a 5 or 6 year old child.
absolutely.
And
And when
they will work you over. They will lie, cheat, steal, coerce,
they
manipulate. I
they
mean,
do,
they are very smart, very entertaining.
yes,
And I lost
and
Gracie when she was just 10 years old, which is
oh
actually
yeah,
their lifespan.
yes, yes,
You
right
know,
about
and
10 or 11, yes,
yeah,
yeah,
and it just devastated me, and I was
I
like,
know,
"That's it. That's it. I
no
am
more,
never, ever
yes,
having another dog. I have
yes,
been saving and rescuing and loving animals my whole life, and it hurts too much to part with them, and I am never, ever, ever having another dog, period."
yes.
And then the universe looked at me and just laughed in my face and dropped a chihuahua in my lap.
Oh my gosh, do you still
She's
have
right
her?
over here. She's the upside down dog. Her name is Princess Peanut Buttercup.
Peanut
And
butter
she
cup, I love it.
is the most intelligent, articulate, adept, magnificently beautiful creature on the planet. I tell her every day, of all the dogs on the whole planet Earth, and that's a bajillion, you are the best dog on the whole planet Earth. And she looks up at me with her little fawn eyes, like, "Oh, mommy, I think you're prejudiced." I am. Oh,
Yeah, I tell you, they get in your heart, and it's just,
joy. They
oh
bring
my, it's just pure
joy.
joy, just pure joy.
Yeah. Did
She's
your animals emotionally support you through the pandemic? Because I know she got me through it.
yes, yes, they are absolutely. I have two dogs. I have another rescue. It's Murphy, and he's a mixed basset hound
Oh,
and a
adorable.
coon dog. So he's got a lot of hound in him. And then I have three kitties that I rescued from a barn. You know how I had a girlfriend that had a farm, and she kept having these cats who would have all these kittens, and I
Yeah,
took
that's why we invented veterinarians and spay neuter program.
yes, and then just recently, well, last year, we I had to take in five little kitties, and I did find homes for three, but then I got stuck with two. But then I had two more to come to me. But people were calling me, going, "Patty, can you please help us?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Now I'm the crazy cat lady because I have six cats and two dogs. I gotta stop. I
I've
have
had as
got to
Patty, I
stop.
think we're related. I've had as many as 17 cats
Oh my
at
gosh.
one time.
Oh my
I
gosh.
rescued 3 pregnant females back
Oh
in the,
gosh.
I think, the 80s or early 90s,
Uh huh.
and they all delivered within a week of each other,
Uh huh.
and I had cats hanging from the curtains, from
Oh my
the, the
gosh.
planters, from the,
How
I mean, they were,
wonderful to have so
oh
many
my god, but I
kitties.
owned a restaurant at the time,
Uh
and
huh.
right behind my cash register, I had a big cork board where people could, sell things or leave
Uh huh.
messages for each other, or,
Right.
it was like a community board. And
Right.
it was back in the days when Polaroids were still very, very popular.
Yes.
And I had a Polaroid camera. And so as the babies were coming of age, my business partner and I, we had the business, we also lived together and saved all the animals.
Right.
And we started taking pictures of them and posting them behind the cash register. And then we would take our time making change for people's lunch and tell them to look over and see if there's any little face on that board that you might feel that you cannot live without.
Oh
We
dear.
had five, 5, 4, and 4. Okay, 10. We had 15 kittens.
Oh
We had
gosh.
14 kittens.
Oh
and we
my.
had homes for every one of them within a week
Oh my
from
gosh,
my
that's
customers in my
great.
restaurant. And
Yes.
that way, and we
Yes.
had like portable cat carriers, the
Yes.
little ones, and
Yes.
we bring the kitty to the restaurant
Right.
and then hand off, give them their change for lunch and hand them the cat carrier and tell them to bring it back for the next day so
Uh-huh.
that we could, and we found homes for every single one of those
Oh,
beautiful babies.
how wonderful.
Yeah.
How wonderful. You were just so lucky to do that. That's just wonderful.
I thought
Oh
it was
my
a
gosh.
stroke of genius, is what I thought it was.
Yes, it was. It was. And you made it available. See, that's what you get, that energy. You get connected. And when you
Yes.
get connected, whatever it is that you need, then it just kind of squiggles its way out until it contacts the source that you need to
Yes.
make your life easier, happier, better. Not so much richer,
Yeah.
but
Rich,
you
people think rich has to do with money.
right, right,
That might be one,
right, right,
element of it, but
right.
as long as I've got enough to keep living and keep giving and keep
Me too.
helping and keep, you know, uh, going to the vet and going to the grocery store for these guys, that's
Woo!
really all I care about.
I know. I know.
Because we really, I mean, there are a whole lot of people on this planet that are absolutely convinced that somehow they
Yes.
can take it with them. No, they can't. No, they can't. I,
No.
I spend my money lavishing my animals and my
Yes.
friends with
Oh.
gifts and every act of kindness that I can conjure up in my mind because, you were talking a little bit earlier about how your students still stay in touch and
Yes.
they'll
Yes.
remind you of something.
Oh
I,
yes.
I believe that it was, oh my God, what was her name? I'm having COVID brain. Uh, the the great African American poet Maya Angelou
Oh
said,
yes.
she
Yes.
said, people won't always remember what you said to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Oh yes.
And
Yes.
you're an empath, whether or not you label yourself that,
Yes.
you are. You couldn't possibly be as tuned in and turned on to life and love and nature and people and creatures without feeling them. And
I do.
sometimes that can be very draining, but ultimately it's extremely enriching.
It is. It is. It's very enriching. And then I learned at an early age how to not let it drain me.
Mhm.
And I've carried that throughout my life, as far as being able to know the difference, but enjoy that part of my connection. I just think it's important that we kind of know who we are, and in
Yes.
knowing who we are able to be uh, helpful and a blessing to just everybody that comes in contact. And with and doing that, you today here lately, you hear a lot of people and you see T-shirts, "Be kind," and I
Yes.
was so glad to see that because kindness is such a wonderful experience for anybody or for anything. Even plants need
Yes.
kindness,
Yes.
and so I'm really glad that we're kind of going into that process, where people are wearing these T-shirts to remind us all to
Yeah.
be
And
kind.
it's such a simple notion,
Yes,
and yet it is literally life altering.
it is.
I've talked about that on this show, and the whole theme of
Yes,
the show is really a two-pronged take on, like a double entendre on a world. We live in a world awakening to itself and its own potential,
yes,
and we are also a world that is awakening to our self-destructive tendencies,
right.
proclivities, probably even better. And how are we going to save this world? How are we going to alter this world in such a way that when we all feel minuscule and we all feel like each a grain of sand on this massive beach with no end. You know, how can we make a difference in the world to make it a better place? And for us, what do we need to accomplish to do to be the change that we seek in the world, to
Right.
make the world a better place? I tell people all the time to be the light that you seek.
Yes.
And by setting your intention and projecting that energy out into the world, it automatically makes
Yes.
the world a better place. And
Oh,
even though it is incalculable and immeasurable, doesn't mean it's non-existent.
that is so true, so beautiful. And the way you speak it is just, for me, it touches me. It's right on key. And I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Well, we should get together, and you know what we should do?
What?
We should have like we have to get together with Greta. She knows
Yes.
both of us like the back of her
Yes.
hand.
I know.
And have an event where that's the concentrated effort. That's the mission statement of the event. How
Yes.
she thinks, how you think, how I think, and how numerous other people do. And we
Yes.
can do it under the guise of, you know, a paracon,
Uh-huh.
really something that is much more spiritually
Yes.
centered,
Right.
and where that divine female energy, that we can coalesce together
Yes.
and literally raise the vibration of the
Ab-
planet.
oh, yes. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
we'll task her with that.
Yes, we will. We will. And you know, I'm speaking of the things that you are talking about. Um, sometimes when I first really started getting into, you know, the light of love, and you know, when we talk about the energy, I realized, and I'm glad I did, that I needed to be a little more selfish. And I know, uh, and it was hard for me because being a woman and wanting to always be there, nurturing and
Yeah,
helping and
it's our
doing, and
natural
right.
inclination. But
There was just
Patty,
so
it's
many
not
times.
selfishness. Self-love is
Right,
not selfish.
right. Well,
It's
it,
essential to you being
yeah. There
able
you
to have
go.
something, some
There you go.
reservoir to
Right,
dig deep down into, to be able to give
right.
more of yourself.
And it just and when that happens, it seems like, for me, I always speak, and when I explain things, I want to make sure that people know that this is just my experience. I'm not saying it has to be everybody else's experience, but um I absolutely love the fact that, you know, like when I wake up in the morning, and all the things that I want to happen to me that day, I kind of like put myself out in
Hmm.
front of my day, and then through that I want to have things that I can focus on, that's going to make me laugh, going to make me shine, going to make me happy. Now, I don't say, I had somebody tell me one time, Patty, you live in La La Land. And I said, thank
It's a
you.
wonderful
I said,
place. Invite them
thank you.
over. Bring the unicorns and the fairies.
Let's do it. And so, yeah, so then I kind of turned inward and said, you know, this is what I want for myself. And I realized that as I'm wanting it for myself, it's a complete attraction
Yes.
for everything else
Bingo.
around me to be that and come back to me. So it's like, wow, this is
Yep.
I love La La Land. This is a great place.
La La
to be.
Land rocks the universe.
Yes, yes.
It
And so
does.
that's kind of, and I think a lot of the, you know, being in the paranormal and just some of the things that have happened. Like I said, I've learned more about life from the dead than I have the living. I just feel like, because of me being so opened and so interested and so respectful and so loving to these energies, and I love your title, The World Awakening. I just love that, because it's like every day something will awaken you to something, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
And as long as you can look for that every morning, waking up going, what will I be awakened to today? You know, having that type of
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah, and when you
Man,
set
that's
that
awesome.
intention, you
That's
set the
awesome.
intention right
Yeah.
at the beginning of that. Live consciously.
That's
Too
right.
many people wander through life and they let their life live them instead of directing the momentum and taking charge of and living into their own destiny.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
It is so important. And but it's even more important that people discover that on their own journey, you know, whichever way
Yeah.
they're going, because we're all so different. What makes me feel happy and wonderful might make somebody else feel, you know, way too uncomfortable for that, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, even, you know, you might meet somebody that's just grumpy all the time, and they make these jokes about people all the time, but you know what, that might make them happy.
That would make them
So
happy. I know people who are perfectly happy being miserable.
that is true, so you just have
Absolutely
to.
perfectly happy being
That's right.
miserable. That
That's,
is their comfort zone. It's
that's
just being bitchy all the time,
that's right.
complaining all the time,
That's right.
cranky all the time, and you know, and when you're like, well, you know, could you please turn that frown upside down? And they just don't even know how,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so when you just accept people on their own terms
That's right.
and love them in spite of
That's
sometimes
right. That's
in
right.
spite of
Yes.
their own, you know, their what we perceive as possibly their worst characteristic, that might be the energy that they need just to keep going
That's
through a
true. That's
difficult
true.
life, because none of us
Right.
know what path anyone else has walked.
That's
None
right.
of us know the intricacies,
Yes.
the pain and the grief and the loss and the disappointment. And life is just a series of obstacles for us to overcome. And
Right.
I feel like tonight I got to share you with the world.
Oh my
And, you
goodness.
know, I so
Man, thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on the show.
Thank
I
you.
can't believe we just blew through an hour like it was nothing at all.
Oh,
I
it
will
has
have you
been.
back again. And
Yes.
I truly, I love you. I admire you. I
Thank
respect
you.
you.
Thank
And
you so much.
I appreciate you for
And this is
coming on tonight and helping me enlighten everyone within reach of this broadcast.
oh, thank you. And I am so glad that you and I finally got to have this time together,
Yes.
because this is new territory here going with
Yeah.
us, and I love it. So
Yes.
thank
I
you
love
so
it.
much.
And this energy is so, let's just disperse it like a supernova out into
Yes.
the universe.
Let's
And
do
I
it.
will see you again, and I'll call you. We'll be in touch, and we'll bring Greta in, and we'll do something
Let's do it.
phenomenal together.
Let's do
Okay?
Greta. I think that would be so much
Yes,
fun.
so much. I love you, sweetheart. Thank
Love
you
you.
so much. And
Thank you.
everybody who's joining us tonight on A World Awakening, I'm so happy to be back with you live. And I will see you again next week. And always, always remember, be the light you seek. Good night.
Good night. Bye bye.